Okay, we just arrived at one of the only homeowners associations that I work for, and I've got rain in the area. They were saying that it was going to rain this morning and rain all day. I was hoping I was going to be able to get in a whole day of work, but it does not appear to that's going to happen. So I'll do a quick introduction, walk you around what I'm seeing out here, and then I got to get to work. I'm not going to be able to film any of this. So this is an older system, probably talking about 30 years old now, and starting to see failures, valve failures, wiring failures, things like that. It was because it's a homeowners association, builders usually choose to go with the lowest bid on landscape and irrigation installation. But the first problem is right here. This is a leaking valve. So you can see water that's coming out of the lowest heads. The zone wraps up around through these shrubs. It ends down through here. You can actually see water coming out of that head right there. So that is a weeping valve. So that is task number one that we're going to work on. And down here we've got a valve. This valve down here, it's no longer working from the controller, and it's the furthest valve away from the controller. And I worked on this probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I was never able to find the wire break. And ouch. Oh. Anyway, there's an ADA zone in there. And I'd actually, hey! Okay, I have found the valve. I guessed that it was zone 2, and was able to luck out on connecting the wire locator and actually found it as zone 2 on this system. I'll let you hear what this sounds like when you come across the valve that you're looking for. You can hear the intensity pick up. And soon, it kind of just makes a bunch of noise and points you right to the valve. So this is the locator that I'm using. It is a Progressive Electronics. Now Tempo Electronics bought them out since I bought this. This originally was a Greenlee. And so it's an old locator. I've had it for a long time. But this is the way that I hook it up to when I'm finding valves. I connect the negative or grounding post to the common wires, and I'll connect the red or hot lead to the actual valve. Since it's far away, I had it cranked all the way up, and then I can turn down the gain control on the wand, so that way I'm not just blasting it out. All right, so I've got 2 valves of the 3 leaking valves found, and now I am going to see if I can find the other leaking valve on the other side. I think it's either going to be zone 8 or 9. So we're going to try zone 9 on the wiring and see where that takes us. Okay, I lucked out again. That is the valve for zone 9. I don't think that there's anything wrong with this valve. I think that when I redid a bunch of mainline in here a few years ago, this valve box is too close to the solenoid, and I think it's pressing on the solenoid, and that was what was causing it to leak. I'm gonna try that out real quick, see if that solves the problem. The rain is starting to get heavier, so I gotta keep moving. All right, so back at this job. It is now Saturday, and I'm out here replacing the valves that I found yesterday. The first one, this one right here, that one was leaking due to tree roots. So you see the big tree there. It was actually feeding feeder roots in underneath this section of the valve right here, and that's what was causing it to leak. You can see that there's little tree roots everywhere. So we'll walk down to this other one because it's leaking for a completely different reason. That valve was leaking externally. This valve was leaking internally, so it was sending water to the lowest head. And it's pretty typical for these Rainbird valves to do this as they age. And I've already got it taken apart so it could drain. But you can see right here, this is the diaphragm of the valve. This little ridge right here is the valve seat, so that's actually what seals it against the bottom of the valve. And you can see there's a screen right here, and that screen has come apart and is interfered with that seal. So we're gonna go ahead and rebuild all the guts in the top of this whole valve. This is an original valve. It's probably about 25, maybe 30 years old at this point. So we'll get it replaced. Okay, I've got the 2 valves fixed. The 3rd valve, I was able to adjust that to keep it from leaking. And I just finished getting the wiring issues resolved. Side note, whoever plants hollies or designs them in their landscape plan, I hate you. This shit hurts every time I have to walk through that. But we had a bad doubler or add-a-zone, so that was one problem. I've just got it hooked straight in now. I'm gonna have to put in another add-a-zone. Show you kind of how I figured this out, though a lot of it's just dumb luck. We're basically following the wire path right now. And I could tell when I was doing my voltage test, I was like, this add-a-zone's bad. It's sending half the voltage down the line. But what really got me twisted was that I caused an additional problem and I had to hunt that down. And I'll show you. So the add-a-zone was actually in this valve box here. There was a wire attached to here that came up into this valve box. When I pulled the add-a-zone out of because it was buried down deep into this valve box underneath the dirt. When I pulled it out, I chomped on that wire and pulled the splice apart. And so the valve is actually probably about 100 yards down that way. And I was shooting the locator back up this way, and I knew that something happened to my wiring right in here. So I actually caused this when I found that. So it kind of pissed me off because I created more problems, but I'm happy I was able to figure out. Chances are that splice would have gone bad anyway, so it needed to be resolved. So now I just gotta fix it, get it spliced together, put wire nuts on it, and we should be good.